As a skater, early on we developed an eye for finding street spots that would be ideal for showing off our latest tricks and grinds. In the early days, there were no parks or ready-made ramps available. You had to find your spots. And over time, that eye for finding the best spots becomes automatic. To this day, I still mentally note ideal locations that I probably can't even ride anymore. But that eye for adventure will always be with me. Aaron Joyner also developed that eye for skating and passion for the sport. But that eye also served him well in other aspects of life. Taking off the blinders of a limiting mindset, Aaron found happiness and purpose the right way, completing his family in the process. From his better half to his healthy hobbies, Aaron has reaped the rewards of falling down and getting back up. From creating the 9-5 Adventures podcast to his own line of coffee, Aaron has developed an eye for both opportunity and adventure. He started his podcast to share how you can live a lifestyle that you create. Tricks and tips like how to leverage business opportunities to take family trips to Hawaii, or leveraging his background in wholesale food distribution to launch his own product line. Aaron continues to develop that eye. And the answers that he has found along the way demonstrate so many of the principles behind 8 Keys to Great. Now branching off into a brand new fitness business, it's obvious Aaron's eye is right on the money. Listen to how developing that eye for adventure is the key to an extraordinary life in my conversation with Aaron Joyner. This episode is brought to you by Atlantic Custom Group. For all your home repair and improvement needs, Atlantic Custom Group specializes in the unique and inspiring. From custom libraries and millwork to tree houses and off-grid structures, Atlantic Custom Group can do it all. Renovate your kitchen, remodel your basement, or reinvent your entire home with Atlantic Custom Group. Call now for an appointment, 770-827-7591. Atlantic Custom Group is the official sponsor for the Extraordinary Podcast. Instead of the one that I published, I went to go edit the file. I've got the 11 minutes that we started talking, I've got the 8 minutes that we've edited, and nothing in between. There's a solid hour that I can't find. So yeah, so on that note, this is the Extraordinary Podcast, and my guest today is Aaron Joyner from another Extraordinary Podcast, the 9-5 Adventures Podcast. What's up, man?
Oh, nothing much, dude.
With an intro like that, it's going to all be uphill from here.
Dude, it's all over, man. I don't know why everybody should be locked in and loaded right now.
Oh, I'm telling you, it's going to be good times. I'm really excited for us to chat, man. This has been, after our first conversation, we had so many stones left unturned. I'm really just kind of calling this part 2 of our first conversation. So for those who haven't heard our first conversation or listened to your podcast, tell everybody a little bit about your podcast.
So it's 9-5 Adventures, the number 9 spelled out, 5 Adventures, all one word. And there's a blue mountain with the thing. You'll see the logo on it. But you can find it on all the platforms, on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, the whole thing. Like, you can find it on any platform. It's posted to all of them. I think it's like 12 different audio platforms.
Wherever you listen to music, like yours, you can find us.
Yes. Yours, I posted the entire thing on Facebook as well to see, just experimenting about it and seeing if it works. So you follow me on my social media stuff to see, I might do something strange about it. But yeah, 9-5 Adventures, that's where you can do it. And it's really, man, if I had to classify it, it's weird when people ask me, it's more of like a lifestyle podcast because I'm into so many different things. Like, so many different things interest me that I have a wide variety of people on, and I want to talk to them and pick their brains. And then it all ends up with just habits to make, your life, like whatever you're thinking about doing, you can maybe do it. Like, if it gives you that sort of hope, or even when it comes to hobbies or working out or just anything improving your life, you can get little tidbits from the conversation, then it worked.
Yeah. Well, it's exactly what this podcast aspires to be, quite honestly. And it's like a lot of the same guests that we aspire to have are some of the guests that are on your show. We talked about like Rick Thorne was one that you had on pretty recently, and he's an awesome guy. And it's like, it's the first podcast I've found that has so aligned with what I'm trying to do and my vision. So, and again, like we found each other through a mutual friend, Tom Heiser, that was on both of our podcasts, because he is like the definition of what I think both of us are trying to do and what the mission that we're both trying to share.
Dude, to say just, I mean, I don't know if we could say mutual friend. Like I know him from the podcast, and talking to him that way, you're like actually his friend. So that, it would be awesome to be his friend. Like, that's cool, man. And that's weird to say. If you're listening and you're Tom Heiser, you're like, I don't know, that's kind of strange sounding, but yeah, growing up in the 90s and the skating and all that, it's a big deal just to get to talk to him. So that was really cool.
Well, what's so cool about these podcasts and doing what we do is the relationships that develop out of them. I mean, we talked about that on your episode a little bit, how, these friendships endure and these relationships that are created because we're so like-minded and because we're so aligned in our mission and our vision, that all these other opportunities kind of spring from this. And I think that's what's been one of the most exciting things for me on this journey is, I mean, it's really cool that I was lucky enough to have some interesting people to talk to out of the gate that I already knew. But then as I exhausted those resources, these new people that I've come to meet and that have gotten to be on the show, that I've got to have on the show, man, it's like those relationships have really blossomed into a lot of opportunities, probably more so than the relationships that I already had that were already existing for so many years.
Yeah, man, they're so true. It's like the guy I got to talk to last night, Gino Gotelli. The podcast is up with him. He's an action sports photographer in San Diego, and he's just a rad dude, man. He takes cool pictures. Like, it's a really crazy skill. And like I said, I'm into a lot of different things. So just picking his brain about what he does to make his craft like really great, and to take these crazy, awesome action photos. And like, I get to meet him and talk to him. He's a cool dude. And then reconnect with people like Jason Reyna. I got to reconnect with him and talk to him. I grew up with him down there in the Valley. And then just people like Tom Heiser and Paul Watkins, and the list goes on, man. There's so many people. Rick Thorne, like, dude, it's awesome. It's crazy. It's cool how you get to talk to people and pick their brain. And then everything kind of seems like you get to really realize they're just human beings that have a different mindset towards a passion, and they go after it. They're no different than anybody else. And I think that's what's super cool. You make these connections, and then it inspires you as a host to like want to be better at doing everything else that you do.
Yeah, it kind of inspires you along the way, right? So how do you go about finding the guests that you've had on? How do you, because I mean, some of them have come through skating the traditional means or whatever, but one of the things that is really cool about your show are the variety of guests, and how, again, like you say, you cover such a broad spectrum of really, really interesting people.
So my main thing was, like a little background on it. When I was younger, I never talked at all. Like, I didn't talk. I was not talkative. I didn't like it. I didn't really care much. I was super friendly, but I had to be doing an activity with you to really like bond with you. I didn't really like talking, wasn't my thing at all to people, picking their brains, finding stuff out. I just wanted to go play sports. If it had a ball or whatever, I wanted to do it. And, or a bike back then. And then, fast forward a little bit, I go through stuff. Like, everybody thought I was a jerk. Like, everybody that was new that came into the skate crew thought I was a jerk. And then they get to like, dude, he's the nicest guy. Like, well, I mean, I don't know why you thought I was a jerk. I didn't think I was a jerk. Like, you just don't talk. So we owned a business, and we sold it in 2000, kind of. Our attorney messed up, and we ended up this big family business that my grandpa built in 56. It was like it went away. So it's gone. And it was super successful. Was the business? We were thinking about, it was called Joiner Food Service. And it was like a Benny Keith or a Cisco type of thing. And we covered
a wholesale food distribution company kind of thing.
Yeah. And it went all the way from the Rio Grande Valley, from South Padre Island all the way up to Laredo. And then we went to Robstown. We covered kind of everywhere in between. We had all the schools and then the restaurants down there. And before we sold, I was fixing to go to Corpus, and we were going to open up a warehouse there because none of the big people had one there, and we could do the same sort of thing and kind of increase our business. So the business was good, and I didn't have a want for anything. You know, we weren't like rich by any means, or my parents didn't treat us like that, but
a successful family business.
It was overnight. Yeah. Yeah. So what we think we're going to do is get money out of this. And we've already started another business, right? We think we're going to get money out of this thing and just kind of continue down the road. And all of a sudden it's gone. Like it's like it evaporated and it just disappeared. It's like, imagine having this business where you make 10 million a year or whatever, 15 million a year, 17 million a year. And then all of a sudden it's gone. Like the next day you wake up and it disappears. That's what it was like. So it was that was a lot of credit goes to my dad, and definitely my grandpa, the way he raised my dad. But my dad was, it was just kind of one of those things where, dude, you just got to keep trucking. Like that was kind of our attitude, is you just got to keep going. Like the sun rises, we can either whine about it or we can work. And that's what we did. So we kept on, but eventually all the things that went along with, it was such a bad deal where the liens that this other guy that supposedly bought the business fell on top of my dad when that guy refused to pay it. So it's wild, man. It's a wild thing. So it kind of crushed our other business. And then after that, I went to work for Benny Keith as a salesperson. Now, until that point, I was never a salesperson. And I had to learn to talk to people real quick, like people I didn't know and all that. And man, I was bad. I was terrible. I was nervous. I would sweat. My skin would get super oily. Just going in to say, hey, I'm with Benny Keith Food Service, and I want to try to sell you some food. Like, let me get to know you a little bit. It was so bad. But man, when you got to eat if you got to kill what you eat, like if you got to go hunting for your food, which is what that is. It's straight commission. So, I mean, if you don't sell anything, you don't get anything to eat on the table. And I got a family, and I got things I got to think about. So, I learned real quick how to do it, my style, which was pure honesty. I couldn't, if the other company had something better, I would tell them like, hey, go get it from Cowboy Bob, man, because he's got it good. That was an actual sales rep, by the way, his nickname was Cowboy. But I learned that. I learned a lot of how to deal with things too, because you're always in front of your competition. So I learned a lot of ways to talk and negotiations and what to give up, what not to, play little mind games with them. And it was just kind of fun. Like I got to where I really enjoyed meeting my favorite part about that job was actually meeting all the different people and talking to them. And so I just rolled that philosophy over into everything that I do now. Long story into telling you how I get people on the podcast. I just ask them. Like, I don't care how big I sent James Vanderbeek a message. I mean, I don't care how big they are. It doesn't matter. I'll send them a message and I do it. I type it the exact way I talk. So if I'm talking to him, if I ran into him on the street and I wanted to be a normal human being and not this crazy person, I would just say, hey, like, this is, it's professional, but it's just basically, hey, I have this podcast. This is my name. I was wondering if you would want to be on. If not, don't worry about it. Like, it's all cool. I don't take it personal. And that's how I get, you ask, what is it? The philosophy, you're going to get one sale for every 10 calls you make. So that's my thing, is just numbers, put it out there. Like if I want somebody on, just ask them, why not?
How you batting on the podcast?
I don't know, man. I have no idea. I really literally pay no attention to no's. Like I awesome. I don't take any offenses to any sort of no's or anything. And I really pay no attention to them. I only enjoy the yeses. So it's the joy of the yeses outweighs the pain of the no's. So I don't even, it's like once they say no, okay, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. Okay. It's a bummer sometimes, but it's like, so what? Like maybe it's a common, like, I mean, I don't really put too much thought into it, to tell you the truth.
Well, what's funny is when you can really get into that groove and you're just going through you're just cycling through and churning and churning and churning. Like I forget about the no's. Like I forget about ones like, and then also not get a yes. And it'll be like, Oh man, I forgot I even said that one. It'd be like, because you're just in such that cycle, you're just kind of churning and burning and going. And because a lot of times, when we're requesting guests and stuff, a lot of times you won't even get a response, especially from, a little bit more notorious people or more famous individuals or whatever. So it's like you said, it's that classic salesman mentality of, when you're just going and going and going, like you don't even have time to think about somebody saying no or turning down. They're like, okay, well, I've already moved on to 5 others and I'm just keeping on and churning through them. And you've been able to get some really cool guests as a result of that, man. That's really cool. So I'm curious, coming from a person who is a classic introvert, and then sales brought out more of your personality and got you a little bit more outspoken and extroverted. And so what was the impetus for the podcast? What was it that drove you from being an everyday sales guy, just kind of doing your thing, to sticking your neck out like that and like putting yourself out there in such a way? Like, I mean, a podcast is a really big deal and you've been at it for a minute now.
Yeah. It'll be 3 years in July. So that's
nice.
Pretty cool. So I'm doing my work now. I moved to College Station. I have I'm doing everything for the company I'm with. I'm doing a lot of different things, like safety guy, sales, and a bunch of things. Like there's a bunch of different things I'm doing, but I drive a lot. So I wanted to fill my time with something educational. And so I did books on tape, and then I found podcasts, and I'm like, oh, wow, these are awesome. Like they change all the time. I can get all sorts of different topics, and I can hear people's conversation. I noticed the ones I liked where I felt like I was in a conversation with them. You feel like you're listening to it and you feel like you're just in on a conversation that somebody's having that's interesting.
Really cool conversation.
You're learning stuff
a lot of times with some cool dudes, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah,
interesting
totally,
people,
crazy people. People I'm like, dude, that'd be awesome to talk to that person, and pick their brain like that. I feel like I'm getting to do that through this podcast. And so those are the ones I like. And it was a wide variety of them. And then we went to, I went through a pretty kind of a hard period in life. I didn't have any hobbies or anything, and I'm taking care of 2 kids. And then all of a sudden things started going right for me, and things started picking up, and my wife is amazing. Like she is an amazing human being. Like I'm so happy that I met her. Like the circumstance in my life led me to meet her here. And that has been the best thing ever because she's super supportive. So she's actually the one that got it 100% rolling, because she goes, you naturally talk, like everywhere we go, you're interested in everybody, like everybody's story. You're kind of interested in genuinely. I watch you from the outside. You're genuinely interested. And I said, I really want to start a podcast. You can't say anything to my wife, because she's like, if you put it out in the universe, you better do it. It's actions. She's all about actions. Like you can't talk
like
about
your
it.
triathlon, right?
Her. Yeah, exactly like the triathlon, man. I say, oh, I think I want to try a triathlon. Next day I'm signed up for one. Like it, that's the way it goes. So she said, well, then do it. Don't talk about it anymore. Do it or don't. And I said, you think I'll be good? She's like, I think you'd be great at it. And I said, okay. So the next day I plugged my earphones in to my phone. I downloaded an app where I could record it on and post it. And I drove to my job site, which was 2.5 hours away. And I recorded an hour, maybe a little more, an hour and 20 minutes. I don't know, somewhere around an hour of me just talking about our trip to Maui and how we did it on a small budget, because everybody always thought we were on vacation. We weren't really on vacation. We just maximized our time, like our weekends and stuff. And then when we did take a vacation, they get to see us on all these hikes and these different things and where we go. And so I thought I'd share it with people. Like, I never thought I'd make it to Hawaii. I always thought that was like something you could never do. And then I realized once I met my wife that it is possible. You just got to prioritize these things in your life. And so I'm like, oh, this is super awesome. Like, I need to share this with people. I think more people need to know this. So that's how it started. And then it evolved from there to, after I got done with that drive, I was like, I hit send, and it was scary because now your thoughts and your voices and your opinion are out to judge to the universe. Whoever wants to download it can. Whoever wants to, forever. You can scroll back now and listen to that episode. But I had the most fun. My drive didn't feel like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. It felt like it was 10 minutes. And I was like, I really like that. I think I'm going to keep, I'm going to keep going and keep doing this. And so one thing led to another, and it just evolved into like, I can do anything I want with this thing. Like it's mine. I can have whoever else I want. So that was my goal. I didn't want to pigeonhole it into anything. I wanted it to be wide open so that I can have whoever else I want on and talk to them.
So where'd you get the name?
The name comes from when I was driving, I was actually trying to think of the name, and I went, everybody thinks we're on vacation. We traveled a lot. Like we visit a lot of places. And I mean, I'm talking like we would fly out on a Friday evening and fly back on a Sunday evening, but we'd maximize that time. And so it's 9-5 adventures for, you can work a 9 to 5, or in my case, like a 10 to 12 hour job a day. That just doesn't sound as sexy, but you can still live a dream life. Like you can still live this life of like traveling and adventures and the things you want to do, the things you don't think that are attainable. You can still have that. You don't have to have your dream job to do these things that are super fun. And I think life is too short for us to waste all these moments just going and punching a clock and going home. If you want to go see Utah, go see Utah. If you want to go see South America, go see South America. Like you just got to prioritize it. And we waste the time. We never see it and we don't have fun. And so that's basically it. Like that's how 9-5 adventures came across. I wanted to be like, you can have a 9 to 5, but you can still live what your dream life would be.
So what's the next adventure for you guys?
Well, we had Costa Rica, man, but I just got a message. We're going in very shortly. We're going to Costa Rica, which I was stoked. It's the first time I would have been there, but I don't know what the travel stuff is going to go on, man. Apparently there's some new travel guidelines that came out. I got to see if it's going to work with us now. I don't know. We may have to
the new administration rolling out new guidelines and who knows?
Somebody sent me something that they updated it. So I got to see what they're doing before I know. But Costa Rica
going out of country makes it extra tough for sure. Yes. I mean, in country is, well, at least it was up until now. I mean, I've traveled several times. It wasn't any big deal. So tell me about how you met your wife.
I was, man, like I said, I was in a tough time, like by myself, got 2 kids. My job is long hours. So it was a struggle to it was a real struggle to balance making my boss happy for the hours I had to work, being up so early, and then getting kids to elementary school at the same time and thinking that I could do all that the same. Like thinking I can manage it because I always think I can do anything I want. Right. But, man, it was just like weighing. My boss is unhappy. The kids are doing great, thankfully, but there's everything in my life is like a lot of stress and pressure. So I'm like, I need something else to do. I got to get a hobby. I always played a softball. I rollerbladed, BMX. I did something. I always had a hobby. So I said, I need a hobby. I need to prioritize a hobby. So I joined a CrossFit gym, because I saw it on TV. I never worked out before, like never had a gym thing, whatever. I went to the gym for a couple months. It had a basketball court is why I went there, and did not like the working out part. So I just played basketball. And then I did a little boot camp. I was like, that was kind of cool. But I mean, basketball is way more fun. Saw a CrossFit video, went in, tried CrossFit. I'm instantly hooked. It was like the community's like a little skate group. It's real tight knit. They're a bunch of psychopaths and it's awesome. Right. And I say that in the best way. It's like it's this welcoming, friendly place and everybody knows you. But the coolest part about it was nobody knew me from my job or my background or anything. They just knew me. Like that was my favorite part about it. So I fell in love with it, and I'm getting in shape for the first time in my life, like real working out shape, and learning healthy stuff like eating and different things. And she's there and she's super fit, really awesome, athletic. And she is like their social, like she did social media stuff, but she worked for a company taking pictures professionally. And so I knew her and we made friends, and she took the kids to baseball games while I was doing she would go do some event at a baseball game, and she was like, hey, do Kendra and Logan want to come along? And I'm like, sure, go ahead, take them, And she had a daughter or has a daughter, and they went to the baseball games while I did my competition training, and it was fun. Like she was super awesome, and I always had a crush on her, but she was with somebody else anyway. And I always thought and this is another thing, I always, the scariest thing, people ask me, like the kids ask me, what's the scariest thing? Nothing scares me. Not a single thing scares me, except for asking a girl out on a date. It's terrifying to me. I don't know why. But anyway, it goes on, and I just wasn't ready yet. So it goes on. And I mean, she goes to another gym, but we still run into each other because we know all the same people. And my best friends that I made that really helped me out through this hard thing, like they're just great people, man. If anybody says anything bad about them, I don't want to be their friend, you know? Yeah. But these people are awesome. Nice. They're best friends with them. So we're kind of all connected, right? Well, anyway, she had some stuff go on with her, and I reached out to her and said, hey, do you want to just come over and work out at this place where I'm working out, this guy's house, which is our friend, until like things settle down? And she's like, yeah. So she came over, and we just like hit it off as friends, like closer friends immediately. And then that Christmas was shortly after that. And it was the first time that we didn't have our kids on Christmas. And so we're like, everybody's got family. I don't have family in College Station, you know, Christmas, not like a crazy big deal to our family. And, she's, you know, her daughter's with, you know, her dad. And so we're going, well, what are we going to do? We go, oh, we'll go hiking. You want to go hiking? He's like, yeah, I'll go hiking. We went to Austin, went hiking, and the rest is history, man. We hung out every single day as friends. And then I asked her out, and she said no. And then I asked her out, and she said, I really like what we got going on. I asked her out again, and I said, look, I just don't want somebody else to come in and miss my chance. Like, that's it. I don't want to miss I don't want it to be because I didn't ask. And she's like, no, I like what we have going on. And then probably like, I don't know, maybe a month later, she goes, okay, I want to go on a date, and I've got it all ready to go. Like, okay, cool. Like, this is it. And then that's it. We got married. And man, it's been the best thing ever.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I wonder what it was that made her all of a sudden, where she was planning it and taking that initiative and taking that next step or whatever. I wonder what was that moment.
I'm not sure. I mean, it's kind of like me back before when, you know, she's taking the kids to the baseball game. Why didn't I ask her? I just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready yet. And I didn't want any sort of relationship like that. I wasn't there. So, I mean, that could have been some of it. I really truthfully don't know. Like I said, I don't pay attention to the nose, obviously. I told her like I'm not a quitter.
That's awesome. No, that's amazing. Cause you know, somebody like me, like I would be so downtrodden with that first rejection. I'd be like tucking my tail between my legs. Okay, I'm going, you know, going on to the next one.
Man, I think we hung out the very next day after that. Like,
the fact that you guys already had the kind of a relationship, whether you wanted to call it that or not, like there was a bond and a friendship there that was unshaken by that or undeterred by that that initial rejection. So clearly there was something there. Just need to take time to come to, and yeah, you know, I think that's true with like any relationship or anything of value, really. Like we talk about like these hard things or like, you know, like things that come with time and with work and with effort, you know, like somebody who sleeps with you on the first date, you know, that's not going to be the person that you marry. It's that one that you kind of had to keep going after and you had to keep chasing and keep, you know, pursuing. And that's the one that ends up being the one that you want to be with.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. It was, I guess this is looking back on it now, I can say that the coolest thing about it is that when she did say no, it didn't change anything with our connection from me on my side. Usually that would happen to me where it'd be like, oh man. And then now I can't see that. I can't be around that person the same way. It was like that never even happened.
Isn't that interesting?
Like I wasn't ever embarrassed or anything. It was just kind of like, I can just be me and she's cool. Like we just meshed that way together, you know?
So like you said, like even she was like involved with the kids initially more so than it was with you. And it was like this, you know, like that friendship. I mean, that's real stuff, man. That's what it's really all about, man. It's good stuff, man. Hang on to that one with both hands, right?
Yes, sir. I mean, and she's the reason, like, I tell her this too. Like, I think it's super important to have somebody like that because she gives me the time to do things like this and to do my podcast and the things that I love to do. Like, I want to get back into rollerblading, or if I wanted to do it, she tries to make time for me. I don't even have to ask. And she's like, she promotes the things that I want to do. And it makes me want to hold on to that even more. So, I mean, it's like she supports me in all the ways that I need it most, like that make me feel like I'm on top of the world. Like I couldn't feel like more of a man than when I'm with her and being with her. So it makes me want to make her feel like the best.
Makes you want to be a better man.
To do. I mean, yeah. I mean, really and truly it does. Like she gets a lot of credit for where I'm at for sure.
Well, that's the key in any relationship. It's that, fulfilling the other and pushing the other and being that level or having that level of support. I think that's such a foundational aspect of a good relationship. It's like when you're willing to go to bat, or like when you're willing to be on that ship, whether it sails or sinks, like you're on board, you're in it for the long haul. And it's what I like. And the reason why I wanted to know about how y'all met and more about her is because the fact that not only does she, is she there as a support mechanism, but like she pushes you, like she pushed you into the podcast. She pushed you into triathlon. Like, dude, don't tell her you want to start skating. You're going to end up with a broken arm, dude, or broken collarbone, man. Like, with a wife like that, I mean, there's no telling where it's going to end up.
The funniest thing, now that you say that, is a funny, just a little story about it. When we first started hanging out and really working out together at that guy's house, like I told you, I had got her a Christmas gift because obviously I liked her. So I bought her some actual CrossFit shoes. She didn't have any. She just worked out in she loved working out in Converse or whatever, which is cool. It's OG stuff. But I got her some nice CrossFit shoes as a gift. She got me a backpack and she had it engraved because her favorite thing to say to me was go faster. Go faster, go faster, go faster. But no matter what workout we're in, go faster. So
come on, you got.
I went faster, like immediately.
That is awesome.
And when she made that, I was like, oh my gosh, I wore that backpack out, man. That thing had holes in it. Things were falling out of it. I was like, I don't want to get rid of it.
That's amazing. Yeah, they cherish that sucker for sure. That's really cool, man. Yeah, that's very cool. So let's talk about skating. And I mean, that's kind of our common interest. I mean, well, before I get into skating, so is CrossFit what you do now? Is that how you're staying so jacked and stuff?
I don't know if I'm so jacked, but yeah, that's my main.
Dude, you got your shoulders are popping, dude. Whatever. I see him over there. All you gotta do is push that screen down a little bit. You'll see. Yeah, see what's up. We're gonna post this on YouTube. Sorry, single ladies.
CrossFit. I've been doing it for about. Well, it's gonna be 5. What is it? 2014 is when I started. Whatever the math is on that.
Nice.
So 5 years.
6 years. Yeah. Awesome.
6 years. Yeah. Yeah. So 6 years I've been doing that.
Did you kind of trade that off for the rollerblading, or was there any correlation between the two? Like I know, like Fabiola da Silva, she's gotten as one of the most amazing rollerbladers of all time. But that aside, she's gotten heavy into CrossFit these last 5-10 years or whatever. She's jacked too, man. She's huge.
I didn't trade it off. I didn't do anything. So I stopped skating. That's a funny story how I got back into skating, man. It's kind of funny. So it's something that I love. I quit baseball. I quit a lot of things in high school just because, I mean, I lived, breathe, eat like every day. When I say I skated every day, I skated every day and all day, as long as I could, as much as I could. That's all I wanted to do. Take my skates with me, skate everywhere. That's it. I loved everything about it. And so it was a big, huge part of my life. And then I had to get a job, and then friends start to go away, and it kind of works out where you're doing it less and less. And so I think I stopped somewhere around the end of 97, 98, somewhere around in there is when I kind of like, it really was like maybe once a month I would go roll around.
You get into like having a family and like grown up life and all that kind of stuff. Well, not to mention the whole scene kind of, that's the time the scene kind of started falling off too a little bit, right?
Yes. Yeah. There was still a pretty decent little underground scene in the valley. Like I said, Jason Reyna and Raymond and some other people, like some other guys down there, really good, man. Patrick, they were really, really good. Like they were really amazing. those guys that came up behind us were like, dude, they blew us out of the water. They were awesome.
Those next level guys were unreal.
And so I still liked going and watching them. I still sometimes I would go to the indoor skate park they put in and just watch those dudes skate, because I'm like, man, I don't have any skates right now, but I just want to be around it. I don't know what drew me to it. I was like, I just need to go check it out. But so I didn't do it from then. And then, oh man, I don't remember the year it was. What is like 5 years ago? 5 years ago, I guess. Yeah. 5 years ago or so, I went to a wedding in Arkansas, one of my really good friends, and this guy's there and he's flying this drone and he just hands a controller to my son. Right. And my son's he's like, I don't know how, I'm having trouble doing the math super quick on when that would be for him, but he's like somewhere around 10 years old and he's got this drone, right? I guess he would be 7. So he's 7 years old. He's got this drone that's, you can tell, is crazy expensive. And he's driving. I was like, are you sure you want to do that? Like, are you sure you want to?
I am not responsible.
Like, yeah. And he's like, nah, dude, it's totally fine. Totally fine. He's taking picture of the wedding because he's dating the girl's cousin. Right. And so we sit down at the same table, we're drinking some beers and hanging out, and we're just hitting it off. Like, we talk well together. And I had a broken foot at the time from doing a missy flip on my feet, landing sideways a little bit. I landed, but I broke 2 bones in my foot completely through. Boom. Had 2 little metal rods in there and everything, and hanging out on my boot. And he's like, how'd you break your foot? And I'm trying to tell him, I'm like, no, most people don't know what that is. So I said, it's a flip and a rollerblade. He goes, I knew you were a rollerblader. He goes, my name's Andy Jacuzzi. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, I'm a pro rollerblader. I'm like, really? That's awesome. Wow. And he goes, who'd you skate with? I told him who I skated with. He goes, dude, I still go to Texas and skate with those guys at least twice a year. You should get back into it, man. It'd be totally rad. And so fast forward to a week later, my daughter has a dance recital and there's a pawn shop right there close. So me and my son, I was just like, why not? We'll just spend some time in the pawn shop till she's done with this little dance thing that she's got going on. And I go in there and there's a pair of razors that are brand spanking new. Nobody skates in College Station, not one person. And they're my size, right? They're size 9 razors, brand new. And I went, it's a sign. I'm buying these suckers for $100. And so amazing. I bought them, and everybody was like, you're going to skate after you broke your foot before 2 of the biggest competitions you were going to go and do with your buddy? And I was like, yeah, I am. And it was so refreshing and the best. I'm like, okay, cool. Sold.
Yeah. That first time strapping on skates again was really, really, it felt good. Yeah. It's like getting back on a bike, it's like that whole thing,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Except I couldn't do exactly all the same things that I did. So I had to be careful that my ego didn't get in the way.
Well, yeah. And to fall, what I found is I love aggressive skating. And if that's a choice or if I've got my druthers, that's the way I always want to go. But I found that I've got to do a lot more fitness skating than like aggressive skating, because falling down on concrete hurts now, man, like really bad. It's like you just bruise and you stay bruised for longer, and it's rough, man. That aggressive skating.
I don't know why I like it though.
Oh, I do. It feels so rad. It's so awesome. I feel so much cooler than I look when I'm skating. I feel
for sure
like I'm just the coolest thing since sliced bread, man. I look like a dork and I'm stumbling and bumbling half the time, especially now because you don't have those confident legs underneath you like you used to, or at least I don't. And but man, yeah, it just feels so good, It just there's something about it.
It really does, man. It's awesome. It's like it's such a big. And once I did start doing that, I'm like, I can spend 10, 20 minutes and I'm like the happiest dude the rest of the day. It's like, okay, I'll go work. I mean, I'll work out. I work out still and all that good stuff. But man, that like 10, 20 minutes, I would spend all day there. But, life, family, all this stuff going on, I've got to get going. We got a 3-month-old. And so it's a little tough. It's a little tough to squeeze it in. But you know what? I've actually made more time this year instead of going like months without doing it. It's like, try to do it, as much as you can, any opportunity you get. So
Well,
I'm
yeah, I
on a
saw your
streak right
social
now.
media
This is the only
post
day I did.
doing like 15 minutes a day, trying
Yeah.
to like just keep getting them in whenever you can, just get in the reps, right?
Yeah, it's true. So I take my skates with me. I'm doing some stuff in Houston, take my skates with me on the way back. There's so many skate parks now, which is beautiful. Like I can hit on the way back. I can just pull off the road, hit a skate park for 10 minutes. I'm refreshed. And then I make it home and nobody's like,
Nobody's the wiser.
Well, I mean, I'm going home and I'm still on time and everything is still there. Everything's in place and I got to spend 10 minutes. So it's like working it into my schedule instead of thinking there's no way I can do it. I'm like, oh yeah, you can. This is cool. And I get to see the different skate parks, which makes it fun too.
Yeah, no, I think that's brilliant. And I think that's the key with all of this stuff. Like, regardless of whatever it is you're trying to do, it's like you have to carve out these little chunks of time, and you can't carve out, like you said, I'd love to spend 8 hours at the skate park doing my thing and having a good time or whatever, but if I can just carve out 15 minutes and fit it into my schedule where it's just part of the daily routine, there you go, dude. That's lifestyle design, dude. That is 9 to 5 Adventures podcast, like at its basis, like that's the premise, right? That's what it's all about.
Yep. Find the time. Doesn't matter how good you are at it either, man. It's just like, it's fun. That's the coolest thing too, is like I'm real competitive, but now I don't have to be a pro rollerblader or like what I still want to do tricks that they do. I watch their videos. I think, oh man, I could probably do that. And I'll go work on that thing, as hard as that may be, but on a smaller scale or something, or, something I think that's attainable for me at the moment. I know the process. I know like when you're going to just totally jack yourself up by trying something super stupid. Like,
and we've learned
your body
how to fall
has never
too.
done
that
that
helps.
before. Yes. But I mean, I don't have to. If I'm not feeling it that day, I can just do a couple soul grinds or whatever, and I'm still just as happy as can be.
Well, I'll tell you what did it for me. I was watching it was a couple of years back, and when I first started diving into some of the social media and stuff, and on Instagram, I found Roman Abrat. I can never say his last name. That little French dude, Roman Abrat.
That guy's a video game.
Yeah, dude, he's just, and he did this little park run where it's just this total ski style, and it was just set to this perfect little groove song, and there was something about that clip, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I went online, and I didn't even try to find this I went on there and just bought brand new skates, just whatever, like 40-something-year-old dude, just I'm diving in, and I sent him a note too. I was like, dude, this clip inspired me to start skating. I haven't stepped on pair of skates in probably 10 years since my last fall when I was with my kids, and I ate it and ended up with a plate in my arm and at the local skate park and trying to do crap that I hadn't done in a really long time. And so that I was like, dude, I can't afford to be broken. I got to be able to use my hands and do my job and all that. But that clip, man, it clicked, and I was like, dude, it's on, dude. And so like just like with you, it's like, okay, I'm just gonna do a little bit here and there. Now I haven't been as religious as you have. I need to spend more time doing it. I tell you what, last year I did that A to A, Athens to Atlanta, which is just like a race. And that kept me on skates. Like you had to put the time in, and that was a lot of fun. And you learned how to spend a lot of time on your skates. And I really, really enjoyed that.
That's one thing I want to do, is that big wheel stuff like that is, and that cruising skating. Going fast is fun, man. Sometimes I just get them out, and I skate anti, so I don't have a lot of the backup equipment here. So I'm rolling anti. That's just what it is. And so when you go skating around, I'd like to have the big wheels and all that stuff, and just to fly around on them would be so much fun, and carve things and hockey stop and all that stuff, man. It would be super fun.
And once you get used to it, I tell you, it's tough to go back to anti-rock. It's tough to go back to only having 4 on the floor, man. It's like you get so comfortable. I mean, because you can roll over so much more stuff. You're so much more fluid. It's like, did you go back to anti-rock? It's like, whoa, you're like stumbling and bumbling all of a sudden again. But I actually got an old pair of Physics that I'm about to slap on. That's got it's got a big fat gap, but it's got all 4 hitting. So I'm about to try that out and see how it does.
Oh,
Did
they
you
got
ever
some
skate
awesome
Physics
stuff, man.
Fames?
The technology's crazy. Nope. In fact, this will tell you how so when I got out, they didn't have the UFS frames. They didn't have that yet. I had K2 Fatty Pros, and I didn't have a frame I could switch out.
No kidding. Wow.
The last
Now
pair
you
I
really dated
had,
yourself.
so I had a pair and some guy wanted them. I hadn't used them in a while. My fatties, they were like, "Hey man, I'll swap you these Oxygens for." They just came out. They were brand spanking new. Like they were the newest thing on the market. These Oxygens, and oh my gosh, man, so heavy. They were the heaviest pieces of like junk. I thought skate going from my fatty to that was like, no, it's super fast on Royale, super slow because of the metal little plate they had underneath there. And they were so heavy. I was like, why do people skate these? And that was it. Like I used them maybe a couple times, gave those away, and then I didn't have any more skates. So
yeah, and that was it. Yeah. Well, for me, it was like I just got broken.
And then
once I was broken for an extended period of time, like I broke my ankle, and then when I came off of that, within a couple of weeks or months, I broke my knuckle, and I just stayed broken for so long, and then it was finally just like, move on. I spent more time partying and having a good time. That was the college days, but I digress.
yeah, no, I mean, I've never been much of part of your stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I can't say the same. I'm older and wiser for it, but that's all right. Talk about having some good stories to tell. That's definitely been the case. But so, what's been the most rewarding part about doing this podcast? What do you enjoy the most about it? What keeps you going?
Oh man, like we talked about earlier, the meeting the new people and picking their brains, and seeing how they map out life. Like everybody's perspective is what I've learned is everybody's interesting. No, like there's not one person that's not interesting. If it's just how you communicate it and share it, but hearing how people make it through their struggles, and you think like, oh man, I've had it bad. And then you talk to somebody and like, dude, that's wow. Like, that's crazy. And to hear how they map out their life and that it didn't knock it down, how they didn't let it knock them completely down. And they not only did that, but they came back more successful, or, found something different that they loved, or they're happier. Those are always such rewarding stories to hear back to you. You're like, man, now I'm inspired. I feel refreshed. And so talking to people like that, that's probably the most rewarding thing, it's, and then, like you said, making the relationship with people, like Tom Heiser and, Hunter Grimm was on the show. Super rad, dude. I got to talk to Dean Moriarty, which is a Red Bull crashed ice guy. And so
yeah, listen to that one.
You listen to
yeah.
Dude, he's such a cool dude, man. He is such a cool dude. And Hunter was actually, that's how I got to ask Hunter on there, because he was actually with that crew on that podcast. They busted in and started talking. But it's the stuff that I enjoyed. I love action sports. I love all action sports. I rode BMX, and when I was younger, before rollerblading and skateboarding, the whole thing. I just love all of it. I love the atmosphere, the people. I love the fact, like with rollerblading and all of it, no matter what it is, even scooter kids, I don't really care what you're talking about. If it has wheels and you're doing these tricks, like people don't realize when they watch the videos how many times you crash and fall so hard, and you got to get back up. And this thing that it teaches you about, like, determination for a half a second of a trick or a second of a trick, where it takes hours and hours of you falling, and then you get it and all that disappears, and it's gone. And that mindset that these guys level it up and they keep leveling it up fascinates me. It's just something I'm into. I'm like, man, these guys are crazy. It's awesome how they can just pull the trigger and, learn these things and do it. So I get to be sort of involved in that through this too. I can ask them and they can be on the podcast and I can talk to them. And so that's to get inside their minds a little bit and how they think and what they do, and to show that like Hunter Grimm, he likes to garden. Like you're like, oh man, here's this crazy rollerblader. I don't know if you've seen his new edit. Shout out to him. If he's if he listens to this, his new edit is amazing. The guy is super talented. And you're like, there's no way this guy like looks like he listens to metal all day and shreds this stuff. And it's like, oh, he likes to garden, dude. He's into it. So, I mean, you realize they're just like regular people and just like you, just like everybody else. And I guess that's one cool thing to get to know all the time and to remind yourself of as well. Like that's probably pretty much everything about the podcast is my favorite thing about the podcast.
Well, that's cool because that means that it's going to be sticking around for a while. And I think that there's some aspects of the skating that are some of the aspects about action sports in general, like you were talking about, like that level of fortitude, that level of learning how to. One of my buddies, Richard, who's been on the podcast as well as a rad skater, posted a really cool meme or whatever it is, like everybody falls down, skaters get back up. And then I think that's true with like all action sports, with all this stuff. It's like, and we were talking about before, like how skating has impacted our life professionally and how things that we've taken from skating have helped us in our professional careers. And I think that's one aspect of action sports that helps us in our careers, is that aspect of learning how to fall down and get back up, and learning how to try something literally 10,000 times to get it right, to get it to where it looks good for that little 5-second video clip, for that little, for that little tiny clip that you see that looks incredibly insane and awesome. Took months of work, took years of preparation, took all this effort and trial and failure to land it. Like you don't land those tricks the first time, like, well, some of those really big ones you have to or you die, but most of them, you've fallen down 1,000 times for that one that you land.
Another thing that it does, like, and I've said this before, but it really it's almost like opening the door of a Matrix type of thing. It's like you see the world differently when you have a passion like that, especially like in action sports. So like we drive around the city and we don't see buildings and just concrete laying on the ground. We see like this playground that moves. It's constantly moving and evolving, and you're looking for spots, and you see things, and then you see things into the next thing because you want to create a line now. Like, what can I do after that? And this is just driving down the road. That's
skater
the way you look at, and it opens. Yeah, but it opens your mind up if you let it. If you apply that to this, it opens. It's everything in life. Like you start to see possibilities where they wouldn't normally have been, and you start to think like, why do people say the word impossible in the first place? Like, it's not impossible. Is it impossible? I don't know. Have we tested it? Do we know? Like, what if we do it this way? And it gives you that confidence to like try to figure something out that looks so difficult, but figure out how to make it work. And that's kind of like, that's one of the main philosophies or fundamentals it inbred in me.
That's brilliant. No, I love that, because that skater eye is something that, you have to cultivate every time, but then once it's there, you can't turn it off. Like even to this day, like I haven't hit a big street spot in a long time, a raw, uncut street spot, did that, but my eye, I'm pointing them out. I'm seeing them all the time. And I think that's a great philosophy for life, where that carries on to, it's like what I talk about, it's mindset. It's taking those blinders off in life and looking around at what's around you, looking at those opportunities that are around you. And when you can learn to identify them, you'll realize that they're there all the time and that they have been there. You just haven't been paying attention to them. That's brilliant.
Yeah. And
I
you
love
also
that.
thought they were, yeah. And you thought they were impossible too. You have to like you said, the blinder thing, that's a whole other thing too, with opportunities. We talked about that on my podcast, where, focusing on all these opportunities and opening your mind up to what you want. They're all there around. Everything's all around you at all times. You have those blinders on, and you only see what you want to see and what you manifest, because you're blocking it out. It's not really a manifestation. It's been there the whole time. You just got to open it up and be like, okay, I'm going to keep my eye out for that. I'm going to keep my eye out for that. And then you notice it's there. You're like, I'll take that opportunity. I'm going to go for this. Oh, and then you build that momentum, and it's like a big gigantic snowball. It's like starts little and just keeps rolling, and then it's hard to trip that thing up.
Were there any books or mentors that kind of inspired this kind of like, 'cause I know you kind of went through like some trials and tribulations and some difficult times, and then now you kind of had this, well, a lot of us in this podcasting space have kind of like had this aha moment, if you will, or this kind of like, now we're on this path of enlightenment kind of thing. Were there any books or people that inspired that for you, or how did this how did you go from struggling with that adversity to now this path of accelerated growth and open mind, this mindset shift and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I have to preface that by saying I was depressed, but I'm not a depressed person. I'm a very I look at the optimistic side of almost everything. Like it's not and it's like a true optimism where it's not like, oh, this is going to be hard. Yeah, I know it's going to be hard, but we can figure it out. Like, let's just try to figure it out. Let's try to figure this out. So that's naturally I'm drawn to that. Now I was like deep, dark, and I got to a darker place where I was like, man, I don't know that this is ever going to change. Like, this is just life, and I'm going to have to accept that this is the way this is going to be and move on. But my main thing about it was just put good things into my mind. Don't try not to think these negative thoughts. Once I started thinking that way, I was like, that's not me. I got to put positive things in there. One book that we talked about, it's probably my favorite of all time, is Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, because nobody's going through a rough time like that dude's going through, that's crazy. And then I love, the books I love are, it's kind of weird. I love interesting things like Freakonomics and Malcolm Gladwell's books. And, but there's several stories and stuff that I've read. I'm like, man, this is really good. David Goggins' book was awesome. Like, that's a newer one, but books back then, I listened to a lot of audio. I read Viktor Frankl's, I read Freakonomics, and I started reading things and just piqued my interest. And really it came down to get me out of that was basically surround myself with people who are going to lift me up. I think you have a path. I've told people this that have been going through a hard time. So I had a guy come back into my life at that same time that was going down a dark path. Like, we were best friends, we were really good friends. And then he went this way. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm going this way, and it was just a mutual separation. I mean, just, all sorts of bad things over there. And we kind of reconnected for a second. And I'm like, I got a choice. I can either go down this path, or I got to take a different path, because that's who I am. I'm not going to leave that. So I think everybody has a choice when those dark times to feed into that dark side and go that way and let that take control. Or you can surround yourself. And when I say that, I talk about the people that you put yourself around and the things you allow into your mind. So if you allow those things in your mind, you're going to be drawn to it, and it's going to suck you away. It's going to pull you further and further away from that road. And this road over here, it's going to pull you to a better place eventually. These people are going to help you when you need it and lift you up, and also be honest with you and tell you you're being stupid, and that's the people I wanted to be around. And so once I started figuring that out, and it takes some time, but you're like, okay. And it's not like you wake up one day and go, you're out of my life, see ya, and you take a click, right? It was more of like a gradual. I started just hanging out with people on this side, and I had less time for people on this side. And so when you can't meet up with them and you're going this way, then, eventually you're like, oh, it just, that led me to one thing, led me to another, led me to sort of getting my bearings back and thinking like myself again and trying CrossFit. And then once I tried CrossFit, inside that realm, there is a lot of people that think that way, because there's a lot of it. It's just like jujitsu or the skating that we just talked about. It's a huge struggle. And I love things that give me a crazy struggle. So I like trying something new, is because it gives you a struggle, and then you have to make it through that. And then you bond with everybody else that's struggling, that gets to the end of it, right? Whether it's you're rolling on the mats and you're getting choked out, or you're choking people out, or you're in a hard workout and you all feel like you're dying, your lungs are on fire, and your body can't have any more ounce of like energy, and you find a way to make it through, and you're all like high-fiving each other. So you find people with that like mindset, and then the rest is history. It's like the gas pedal just got mashed, and and I'm off to the run. And then I'm like, more of this. Let's, like, how can we level this up? Like, this is where I want to go. This is the people I want to be around. Who can I meet? And then the podcast is an extension of that. It's all the people that I want to talk to and want to meet, and share stories like that with other people, so that somebody that's in my situation might hear that and go, oh man, that's right. Life is I can find these people in life. I can do these sort of things.
Well, I think that's what's so appealing about your personality is like once you grab a hold of something like that, it's like you get so enthusiastic about it and sharing that. Like we're both of us, we get enthusiastic about sharing these things that are working. These things are like, yeah, let's go. And then like it just kind of that enthusiasm exudes off of us, and it definitely exudes off of you. And then I think your guests definitely pick up on that as well for sure. So
obsessive. Some people might say obsessive.
yeah, well, it can be good and bad too. But when it's in the vein of the good things like this, and like CrossFit and positive reinforcement and and motivation and that sort of thing, then I think it attracts people, and it makes makes us attractive to others, for sure. So if everything goes according to plan, if this podcast continues on the path that it's on, and all your wildest dreams come true, what does this look like in 10 years? What do you hope to accomplish when it's all said and done?
I always said when I started, like I started it for, I'm not making any money. So it's, I'm doing it for free. If I love it, I'm going to keep doing it. If I don't, then I'm going to stop. Like that's the way it is. And it turned out to be something that it's my favorite thing to do, man. I love it. Like the same passion I had for skating back then, I still have that passion for skating, but the same obsessiveness about wanting to do it is there. And the money's not ever a thought. But the ultimate goal in 10 years, if you want to know honestly what it is make enough money off the podcast to survive, like to pay my bills and to have the same life that I have right now, like the same life that I have right now. And then I could keep that level right there the whole time. And I could level up and guest in the world and travel all over the place. As long as I have that, that's my goal in 10 years. And anything else on top of that is gravy. It doesn't mean I'm going to stop there. It just means that's the goal. And then as long as I'm at that place, I'm a happy dude.
Everything above that's bonus.
Oh yeah. Everything above that is a bonus, man, because I found out that when you really love to do something, you don't need the money. You know what I mean? Sure. You don't need the money for it. And so it would be a dream to make a living doing this or something associated with it, and then be able to support my family doing that. And then that's like, I'm living, it's hard work. I mean, it is hard work, but man, I'd be living the dream.
Yeah, but it's incredible. It's rewarding already when it's not rewarding financially. There's so many other rewards that come from it, and to have it be rewarding financially as well would be just amazing. And I'm convinced that if we just keep on the path that we are on, that's coming. I know that's coming for you for sure. Well, so on that note, let's talk about one of the ways that you can support the 9-5 Adventures podcast, and that's the product that you guys sell as a part of the podcast. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I had a choice. I was trying to think. The podcast is gaining steam, and like the downloads are starting to go quite a bit up, and people are listening to it and talking to me about it. I'm like, well, now I need merchandise, right? I need a shirt and something to help support this habit that I've got going. If I need new equipment or something or whatever. And I'm like, everybody does shirts. I love coffee. When I say I love coffee, I ordered coffee from all over the place, all these fancy things. I had all these different grinders. I made it every different way. Before work, I would wake up at like 3:00 in the morning, and I'm making these coffee, like the different beans. And I'm trying to learn, just like wine connoisseurs, about coffee, right? And so I'm like, yeah, I had somebody on the podcast that started a coffee brand. I wonder how much money it is to get into that. And I called him up, talked to him, and I was like, that's doable. That's definitely not what I thought I was going to hear. So I started coffee to promote the podcast. And since then, it's leveled up just like everything else. It's I have 2 blends. They're specialty roast beans, and they're small batch. And the stuff that the beans that I get, they all come from places where these farmers are trying to do it full time now, instead of, all of them have to have like part-time jobs down there and go do other things that sell to like the Starbucks and the Folgers and all that stuff. And I'm not hating on those people. They make what I'm doing possible. So I'm definitely not going to hate on them. But this stuff is something that I believe in, is like giving these people a better life. So it's specialty coffee. It's all no mold. It's good. It's roasted in small batches, and it's stuff that I like. So it's what I like. I was like, for a long time, when I was doing that, even I was like, I wonder if everybody else is going to like it. I go, dude, get what you like. It's your coffee. Who cares? Like, get what you like. Pick the stuff out that you want. And so that's what it is. It's weekend getaway. It's obviously named after stuff that we do. Weekend getaway and summit view, because we like to hike, and we're going to go to the top and look over and then hike back down. So,
sounds like one's a little bit more mellow, one's a little bit more peppy to get you up to the top. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. One is like a darker roast, if you want. That has darker notes in it. Both of them are medium roast technically, because that's like the perfect way. I could get really dorky on it, but the weekend getaway is it has lighter tones and lighter notes in it. So if you like a lighter coffee, that's the one to go with. It's berries and floral, versus the other one's going to be chocolate and nutty on this side. So on the summit view. So yeah, I have the coffee, and things are picking up with that too, which is kind of cool because I love doing that as well. So it's kind of a cool combination to have, and to see my logo on a bag and to ship it out to like places like Nebraska. It's pretty cool. Like, it's pretty neat to have people ordering it from out of state, and you get to ship it off, and you're like, whoa, this is so rad. So yeah, that's what I got. I get the coffee to help support the podcast.
Well, and what's really cool is if you think about it, like with your grandfather's business and everything, it's kind of everything coming full circle a bit with it being a food product, and you're shipping, like here you are doing food distribution, technically, all coming all around again, definitely got that as your area of expertise. All right.
I never thought of it that way. That's super funny.
We'll start winding this thing down. So I'm curious, what's the message that you have, or if you had a message for all the world to hear? Obviously you've got a podcast and a platform to do so. What's the message of Aaron Joyner? And then on the same note, this may get coffee related, it may not. My little question that I like to steal from Tim Ferriss: what's Aaron Joyner's favorite item under $100 that you could not live without, that you use on an everyday basis? The message that you want the world to hear, if you had a billboard or something like that, that you could put anything on it, what would that be? And then what's your favorite item under $100?
Oh, if you got to fit it on a billboard, that's a little tough.
Well, you don't have to fit it on a billboard. Just what's your message, I guess, or what's your, what are you trying to put out there to the world?
The message, I would say, is just surround yourself with like-minded people. Like, the people that you want to be, surround yourself with them. Everything else you'll get obsessive. You'll take care of everything else. But there's nothing more true than that. It's just being around and surround. And it's your choice. Like I would tell people, it's your choice to hang around the people that you hang around. That's the truth of it. So accountability, and hang around those people that you want to be like.
Jim Rohn has a famous quote that's I refer to it all the time. It's, you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So if you're spending the most time with those level-headed people, then you're going to up your level as well.
Yeah, it's true. And then the money, that question is funny because we don't shop, or I don't shop at all. I don't have, like, my wish list is literally a pair of them skates. Like, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but they're not under $100 though, so you can't use those.
No, I know.
I was thinking about using. You really could say your first pair of razors that you got from the thrift store, but that was a while back, so maybe you have to come up with something better.
I still have them. I still have them in the garage. I'm like a skate hoarder, so if I have it, she's like, you can sell those. I'm like, no, I'm not selling them to get rid of those. What? Why?
I'm the exact same way. I've got all kind of old parts and pieces collecting dust.
Man, under $100. That's
something you use on the regular.
Something I use on the regular. I have my favorite coffee cup. I've drank coffee out of the same coffee cup. It has my 9-5 Adventures logo. It's a metal one. I sold them for like a special, and so that thing, it goes with me everywhere.
Okay.
It's been like 2 years I've had that thing. Nice. So that's the kind of guy I am. Once I get something I like, I stick with it. So it's that's kind of interesting.
Dude, the older we get, we're all like that, man. I'm the same way.
I think I'm going to be like, right now at this particular moment, I'm going to say skate wheels. That's what I'm going to say.
You got a brand you want to give a shout out to?
Well, okay. This isn't like, I'm not being biased or anything. I had a couple different pairs of wheels. The them wheels that I bought, they're awesome. They like, everything works out perfect with them. They're like the perfect wheel. And I'm not like being biased towards one brand or the other just because of whatever the industry is doing. That's my honest opinion from what I've tried out so far. They just work for my style, the way my foot goes and everything. Like I went faster, everything, like I never slip. It's awesome. Like they're awesome. So them wheels for sure. Obviously I would try a lot of different people's wheels and stuff, but that's what I would say.
Well, if anybody's got it figured out, it's John Julio for sure, man. I mean, dude's figured. I mean, 100%. He's like the business genius of this industry for sure.
Yeah. So that would be it. I would just buy skate parts and wheels like under $100. Like, what can I buy for under $100? And I would be like, what do I want to mess with, and go with that. That's what I do.
Well, and shout out the Win Wheels as well. Those guys are putting out some good stuff. But yeah, shout out to John Julio and them skates, man. That's it's good to see a skater driven company leading an industry like that, and kind of taking the industry by the reins and keeping it alive, man, or just seeing it revive and seeing it all kind of come full circle again. It's really, really cool to see for sure. Love it. All right, man. Well, so tell everybody where they can find you, where they can, how they can get your coffee and support the podcast, all that kind of good stuff, social media, and that kind of stuff you want to put out there. And if you have a charity or any organization that you work with that you'd like to give a shout out to, now's your chance to do so.
Oh man, charity. That's a tough question. That's a tough one there. Most of my stuff is done just on the down low and helping people, giving them my time, giving them,
well, check out the podcast. Anybody you can find on the 9-5 Adventures podcast and support them. I mean, that's always,
do that. Find somebody you want on there and support them. Social media, 9-5 Adventures. It's the number 9 spelled out 5 Adventures, just like that. Everywhere you go. That's all I have. I don't really get on Facebook much, but you can DM me or message me on any of those, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and I will respond to you and probably talk your ear off. So I don't know if you want to open that window, but there it is there. You can get the coffee any of those ways. You can send me a message, or you can go to our website, 95adventures.com, and they're on there. You can place an order, put in your address, and I'll ship it right to you. So that's the best way to do it. That's my social media. And the number one thing, if you want to support the show, then don't buy the coffee. Don't do any of that. Like, rate, review the podcast, and share it. Share it on social media. Share it with people. It means the world to anybody hosting a show.
Amen, brother. It's so true. And it doesn't cost you a dime, but 5 minutes of your time.
It's free.
If that.
Yep.
Totally free. Yep. Aaron, thank you so much for what you're doing. Thank you so much for the podcast. And thank you so much for taking the time to come on to our show, man. It's been a real treat, real pleasure. And I'm super excited about the future of both of our podcasts and the futures that we have together and the opportunities that are going to be coming around as a result.
Me too, man. Thanks for having me on, dude. This is fun. It's fun being on the other side.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, right? That's I'm still getting used to it, but I'm much more comfortable asking the questions than answering them. But you are an amazing guest, man. I'm so grateful for your time.
Oh, thanks, man. That means a lot. Thank you, Nate.
This episode is brought to you by Atlantic Custom Group. For all your home repair and improvement needs, Atlantic Custom Group specializes in the unique and inspiring. From custom libraries and millwork to tree houses and off-grid structures, Atlantic Custom Group can do it all. Renovate your kitchen, remodel your basement, or reinvent your entire home with Atlantic Custom Group. Call now for an appointment, 770-827-7591. Atlantic Custom Group is the official sponsor for the Extraordinary Podcast. So you're still here. Wow. Thanks for sticking around. So, what'd you think? What did I miss? What would you like to know more about? Who would you like to hear on the show? If you stuck around this long, maybe you won't mind giving me some feedback. And don't forget to check out the website, extraordinarypodcast.net, for all the latest episodes. And if you enjoyed the show, please take the time to share with your friends, on social media, or with anyone you think who might enjoy it. And last but not least, if you're ready to start living an extraordinary life, check out 8keystogreat.com, where you can craft your free blueprint to renovate your career, home, or lifestyle. The program is free, but you have to do the work to unlock each key. And finally, if you'd like to speak with me directly, you can book a free 30-minute Zoom call directly through my Calendly link on the contacts page. And in the meantime, check out some of the other exciting interviews with ordinary people living extraordinary lives. Thanks for listening, thanks for sharing, and most of all, thanks for just being you. I'm Nate G, and we'll see you next week.